So what's cropping up, stockers? Zach, the stock cropper, back home in Iowa. It's Monday morning after a much needed 4-day getaway. Still kind of on business, but a lot of fun going out to Jason Mauck's constant Canopy field day in Muncie, Indiana, and got to see his incredible new regenerative demonstration farm property that he and his team have purchased and are in the process of starting to develop. I can't say enough about the potential of what that property holds. If Jason can figure out a way to make his vision work there, it's really going to be incredible. And if you're anywhere near or traveling through out there, I would encourage you to contact him and stop in and see what he has going on. We just got back last night and came over to the cropper, taking a look at some things. And today's video is going to be kind of all over the place because we're going to have stuff from our time out in Muncie, along with kind of getting back here. So bear with me. Hopefully I can edit all this stuff together.
And what I'd like to do now at this point is show you folks this thing walking in public in front of people for the first time. Now, Jason picked a humdinger of a site to put this in for us. So he picked the bottom of the hill and then managed to have a 2-inch rain happen in the last 18 hours. And so, but I think we're going to be able to make it up and out. And so I'm going to go ahead and cue Nick to do our first move. And what this move is going to represent is an 8-foot movement, which is the depth of the pen. And while it's moving, I'm going to go ahead and explain some of the features that we built into this barn and how it's different. So Nick, if you want to fire it up. So it is moving. You can't probably see it from that distance, but it moves at a rate of about 30 inches per minute. So it should take us about 3 minutes to move our 8-foot length here. And the reason for the slow movement is a couple things. With the gear ratios and such that we have electric drives that are powered by batteries that we have on board. We have two 12-volt batteries, which are also powered by the sun with our solar panels that you see on top of the roof. And just like we had last year, we want to harness as many resources as possible with this, not only the sun, but if we get rain like we did yesterday, we want to be able to capture that for the animals. So the inverted roof has a central gutter, which fills the water tanks, which you can see sticking up out of the central module there in the middle with the black lid. So the rainfall, we filled the tanks about 2/3 of the way last night. So each tank holds 16 gallons of water, so we have 32 gallons on board for the watering system that can feed the sheep and the goats in the front pen. In the back pen here, our original plan was to have chickens and sheep and goats up front for this demonstration, but we were a little bit concerned with how the chickens were going to be a demonstration tool because they don't move and listen very well when it gets to the back of the pen moving here. So we thought pigs would be a better option. So we picked a couple of the pigs out of the back of the woods here, and you can see it slowly, kind of creep along. And as you look out to the front, I guess we'll start up there. That front panel is designed to go through vegetation, so you can see it has a combed tooth appearance to it. And the reason is we didn't want to have a solid bar out front because we wanted to be able to move through, if you had sorghum Sudan grass that was, chest high or something, we wanted to not, break that off as the barn moved in. And so it would move through that essentially and then come unencumbered so that the animals can move out with it and then have the ability to graze. And so the idea with this movement and having all of this solar capacity on is that we can program this thing to do whatever we want. If we wanted to move 8 feet at 7 a.m. and 8 feet at 8 a.m., or if we wanted to gear it down slower and just do a continuous slow creep, the idea is that we can have, programmable computers on board that will, dictate everything on the movement. It'll allow us to have monitoring of our systems. We envision like when it's time to move, maybe we sound a horn so the animals get acclimated, to it so they know that it's time to move. There's just a ton of different opportunities when you have and generate your own electricity on board, what you're going to be able to do with this machine in the future. So the drive system is all electric. We have 2 chain drives, that one going forward, one going back here. And then the way that the barn elevates is that we have a system of airbags and we have an air compressor on board. So that's also powered by the solar cells that we have there. So that the compressor goes off, it can lift the barn for the move. And then when the barn moves, we can set it back down so that we're tight against the ground and we don't have predators or anything else getting into the system itself. What am I forgetting, Joe? Yeah, so the net power production. So I might have to have Nick chime in on some of this stuff, but essentially we have enough storage on board for 200 amp hours, and we can move, which I can't remember. Nick, how long did you say we could run it continuously at a full charge with our power consumption rate? About an hour that we could maintain this without stopping if we wanted to do. And so when the sun comes out, we're capturing about 20 amps. At a time when the clouds go under, it goes down. Like earlier today, it was about 4.5 to 7. So it gives you kind of an idea that cloud cover makes. But we've got plenty with just 4 solar powers on here, 4 panels on here to produce a ton of electricity. And so one of the things, that we talked about in our brainstorming sessions was not only the power just to move the barn, but power to power other things on your farm. So imagine having battery packs that could be storable on, that you could come out and chore and maybe hook your Ranger if it becomes an EV in, so that the barn could be an umbilical to charge your electronic Ranger in the future. Or like power tools. Jason had the idea about like chainsaws or blowers or anything like that. Yeah, so now we've made the move, and it's lowering back down to the ground, so it's nice and tight. It also gets the weight off the wheels so the wheels don't sink. Otherwise, the next day it'll be more of a climb out of the hole with the weight sitting overnight here. So that's the other function of why we let the air out. I talked about, that. So we're, right now this is kind of the smallest size. We may make some things smaller than this. I'd love to make just a single chicken tractor for people in urban areas that want to have the ability for these things just to scoot along. The idea is how do we get more people in touch with producing food, interested in food, and in a way that they can still maintain a lot of their same lifestyle. And that's really from a farming standpoint what we're trying to do, from an urban consumer standpoint what we're trying to do with this thing. But it's really been a trip this last year being a part of this. I'm really grateful for the partnerships that I developed with Joe and all the things that Jason has done, for the stock cropper. It's just, it's been a trip, and here we go. I've been talking the whole time. We've moved 8 feet, and that is the first official public move of the ClusterCluck stock cropper Nano. So what's cropping up, stockers? Zach, the stock cropper, standing tonight outside of Muncie, Indiana, with D. Joe Bassett, President, CEO, power mover and shaker in agriculture. And we just got done debuting the ClusterCluck stock cropper Nano, a dual consortium project between Don's Under Crown Agriculture Company and Stock Cropper Inc. here at Jason Mauck's Constant Canopy Field Day. So this is the world's first autonomous robotic grazing system with multiple species of livestock, powered by solar panels.
Powered by the sun.
Powered by the sun with electric motors, onboard watering station. We've got battery and computer controls for advancement underneath here.
It's the rain from last night.
Rain from last night that we collected
nice
in our
and cool.
inverted roof. And so we performed this thing, or made it move live in front of about 150 people here at the field day, and it worked. We moved it 8 feet. That's the move, or the width of the pen here on the grazing pen. So we had sheep out front, and there are our grazers in the system. Joe's getting to know them. That sound you hear is the compressor on board to run the air suspension system, the airbags that we have down below here, so we can raise and lower the barn when we want to move. And this was not an ideal situation. We had about 2 inches of rain, some really, really soft dirt to try to move through, but the barn did what it was supposed to do. And Joe, any parting words from your perspective on this?
I'm pretty pumped, actually. The number of things that worked dramatically exceeded the number of things that didn't work, and the concept, I think we're extremely close, which I couldn't be more excited about it, because I think we're, you know, it's going to take a couple more versions, but, you know, give it 2 more prototypes and we're going to be there. And the things that I'm really happy about are that the animals seem to be liking it. They're liking the shade. The water temperature is good. Like, that's like the key stuff. They're drinking water that we collected last night. We're in this like swampy mess. The machine is driving itself. Need to make some tweaks. Wheels need to get bigger. Some other little things like that. But
We're close.
It's close, and this is the most exciting thing happening in American agriculture today, by far. It's the first radical change, the first radically different thing that, you know, I've been a part of. We're you know, doing something completely different. You're reintegrating animals back into the system. The performance of the soil in these areas where you're grazing is just going to be phenomenal. And it's like, okay, so remember, it used to be like, oh, no-till was the big deal, right? And then it became, oh, well, no-till, if you're not doing cover crops, you're not really doing no-till, okay? Mm-hmm. So then you climb up that ladder where you're like, oh, to really no-till, you gotta have cover crops. And now the next thing's gonna be, well, oh, you're doing cover crops, but if you're not really grazing something, then you're not really reaching the top of the ladder. This is from a soil health perspective going to take us to the top of the pyramid. You know, the animals are going to control weeds. It's distributing uniformly manure across your field
For free.
For free.
Yeah.
While you produce a saleable product.
Yeah.
It's like, it's efficient and simple. It's the future. What is it? I just can't imagine a future. Like, I'm imagining you know, a quarter section with 120 inches of corn, 120 inches of grazing, 120 inches of corn, and then these things go back and forth, okay? You have maybe 10 or 12 of these going back and forth. And they're producing excess energy. We're going to generate far excess energy compared to what we need, okay? And then they're going to get to the end of the row, and we have to sort out a way to discharge some of that energy into some other sort of storage system that can be used to power other type of systems on the farm.
True net negative.
True net negative. If you're going to become carbon negative on your farm in a system where you actually have intensive cash crops, I think this is like the first viable concept that's going to truly get you there. So there's reasons for optimism instead of just doing the same old bullshit, or just finding ever more intense ways to do the same bullshit. It's actually different, and people are magnetically attracted to it.
So the parade has moved quite a bit in the last few days since I've been gone, but I'll try to give you the best vantage point. So we are officially about 2 weeks into movement through our strip. These strips were designed to have, I think, somewhere between 30 to 40 days of pasture at the rate at which we're moving. So there's the ClusterCluck 5000. The Max 9 is over there. And then our little 10-foot barn is up here as well. So you can see the difference. So especially with just having sheep and goats and chickens in the small version of the barn here, we're getting some really, really nice regrowth. You can see that this stuff was beaten all the way down to the ground, but it's got new power swirls coming out of the millet and the Sudan grass, and we're going to be able to come back and graze this really easily. The other good news is that our next pasture strip has a lot of growth from the seeding that we put out initially, along with the new seeding as well. And so we're going to have a really good mix to turn around with the rains that we've gotten to hit this again here as soon as we get done with these strips. So here's the man that makes everything happen, whether I'm here or not here. And you gotta, one of the themes out of Jason's was talking about teamwork and having good people on your team. And I can't go to Indiana and do this fun stuff without having somebody to chore through the weekends and fit his, how tall are you?
6'5".
6'5", and gets in a Suzuki mini truck twice a day and never complains and shifts flawlessly with his left hand, a skill that not many Americans have, but the Juice Newton does with his caffeine on top. So we're filling up water right now, getting ready to go out. And which barn's this going in?
The M9.
The M9. Juice is even abbreviating stuff. We're now to the M9 from the Max 9, which is good. The M9 it'll look better on those small bars too. I kind of like that. So, but anyway, yeah, it's a beautiful morning here, and Jordan's been getting the torn done while my phone's been ringing off the hook dealing with Monday morning calls. But yeah, it's nice to come home and have everything in good shape and working. And Juice is the grease man that makes that stuff go. So right before we went to Indiana, we caught about an inch and a quarter of rain. And in last week's video, you saw me out seeding our pasture mix in between our 60 and 90 inch corn. And I was curious after that rain how good of a catch we got on it. And I got home to see all of this glory. So this was seeded literally about 10 days ago, and we've already got stuff that's 3 inches tall and up here coming. So this is going to be fantastic for the field day. The 90 inch corn is starting to shoot up. We've just starting to get some tassels. This was planted a little bit later than our normal corn around, but this stuff has grown about, I'd say about 2 feet. It seems like since I was gone, but very pleased to see the catch of covers. We've got one water hemp plant we've got to pull. Everyone seems to have that this year. One fun update, the mini truck Roundup application worked. We killed basically all of this waist high lamb's quarter that we had. So glyphosate can still work on some things. Looks like lamb's quarter is one of them. So that rain was a huge deal for us. I've already said it, I know once, but we're in our strips that I mowed 2 weeks ago that were completely brown. We're actually getting some nice regrowth, and I haven't reseeded any of this stuff yet, so that's really positive. The stuff I reseeded is coming really, really well. The corn strips are just starting to tassel and pollinate here. The beans are late R2, almost at R3. Here's a shot of the Max 9 with the pigs. Looks like Juice threw him a little bit of sweet corn maybe this morning. There's a cow pie that got flattened by the tire. Cows have already had their first breakfast and gone back in, it looks. You can see how tall the mix is getting on the old M here. I would guess we've got about 3.5 weeks left in this strip before we will move back over to where that stuff is really small right now, and hopefully it'll be about the right size if we continue to receive moisture. We look pretty dry for the next 10 days, but anyway, that's a brief morning update. I'll have more content for next week. It's been a big week with things. So that's just a little brief snippet of the farm this week. I'm going to try to get something edited and put out here tonight. We'll have more content, kind of a more cohesive video next week. But again, thanks to everyone, or those of you that followed our events with unveiling the ClusterCluck Nano out in Indiana. Special thanks to Jason, Mauck, and his wife Courtney for being such hospitable hosts and being such a great supporter of Team Stockcropper. And they just, like I said before, if you have a chance to stop and see Jason's vision at that property out there, I highly recommend it. So That's it for this week. That's what's cropping up. Thanks for watching.